Hi, this is New Caribou, Sir David, the Bard. When I was at BYU, I drove a charter bus for Utah Valley Transit. My old buddy, Harry Hardman, and he was a hard man. Harry and I got along pretty well, but he didn't take any bullshit, I'll tell you that. And I drove for him, several years while I was still at BYU. Because after I delivered a group to where they were going, I could sit in the bus and do my homework and graduate from BYU. Well, before the Provo Temple was built, now this is a long time ago, folks, you know, I'm one of the 3 Nephites. Well, maybe I'm one of the 1 Lamanites, I don't know. Anyway, I used to drive the Utah Valley BYU wards and stake to the Manti Temple. Now, that was a cold and a hard trip in the winter. We had buses that were old, and they had holes in the front where the driver sat, and that 70 mile an hour, 5-degree temperature wind would come in and just, make me extremely fertile. God, what's wrong with me? People write and say, "You're on drugs." Well, if you watch my videos, you know I'm on drugs. You're preaching to the choir. And people say, "You were never a Mormon." And I said, "I wish." Would I be this crazy if I'd been in a normal religion? Hell no. I ask the questions and I answer them. That's my old Mormon tricks. I used to drive down there all the time and then sleep on the back seat of that damn bus in 5-degree weather, just freezing my ass off. But I had to raise my family and take care of my obligations. And I enjoy driving, even to this day. I like driving. The only thing I can drive now is a bicycle. But I put a Corvette shell over it and then just pedal like hell. Anyway, the Utah pageant, Manti pageant. And I was married in the Manti Temple once. That was my first marriage. And my first pale ale and slit your throat. And I forget what year I was married. I forget. Anyway, I drove down there a lot. And I'm going to divert for just a minute here, okay? And I don't know why. I guess the Spirit is talking to me. Me and 2 or 3 other drivers used to be able to go in to the Manti Temple because we had temple recommends, and they would let us sit in a room where we could read or write, kind of like an office or whatever. And I was in there with 2 or 3 guys, and back in those days in the Manti Temple, you had to take your shoes off before you went into the temple. And once you were in there, you took all of your clothes off and ran around with a shield on you that was everything but naked. In fact, it was naked. So anyway, the person that wrote into me that's a Mormon says, "I was never naked in the temple." I said, "Have you done initiatory work?" The new shields are closed on the side, but the little general would hang out, and people could look in the side when I was going to the temple. So one day we had a chance, the temple president came into our little room, and he was just BSing with us, and we were talking to him. And it was back in the days when the civil rights movement was tough. It was tough. There was a lot of hatred and anger, mostly by the black people, because the Mormon church treated them like shit. And anyway, I said to him one day, I said, with all of the security problems that are going on in the world today, people come in here and they take their shoes off, and you got 2 old buzzards standing there at the desk. One can't see and one can't talk. If somebody came into the temple, they could run in and desecrate the temple. I was, young. I don't know, maybe 24. No, I forget. I went to BYU when I was 19. 21, 2, 3. I could be 24. I might have been 64. It took me a long time to graduate from BYU. They weren't sure they wanted to give me a degree. Well, anyway, the temple president said to me, I guess in front of these other guys, I don't remember him taking me aside, and he said, well, he said, that happened once. I said, see? The bard knows. The bard knows. I'm telling you, you don't have security up there. You know, the other guys are in a wheelchair, 3 are using a walker, and, you know, I don't think you can control the desk. And he said, well, you're right. Hey, the bard knows. Then he said this to me. Now, you Mormons, you can spin this any way you want. All I'm doing is telling you my own personal experiences. And he looked at me and he said, well, that happened once. I said, well, what happened? Did they throw walkers and wheelchairs at him or what? He says, no. He actually came into the temple. And I was about to say, well, if you told him to get naked, he probably would have just left. I didn't say that. I should have. I should have. And he said, and I was young, and I was impressionable. That's how you get a Mormon. And brainless. He said, well, what stopped him is he ran down the hall. And when the angel of the Lord appeared in the hall with a sword in the air, he left. Now, I believed that shit for 30 years. I never said to the temple president, well, what did the angel look like? How tall was the angel? Did it have a beard? Was it wearing garments? Was the sword flaming? Was the guy that ran in 2 feet 6? The little people attacked the temple and were scared off? Well, anyway, I'm just telling you the Manti story, temple story, and it has a beautiful spiral staircase, beautiful, beautiful spiral staircase in the Manti temple. Well, anyway, I used to drive everyone down from Provo all the time, every night for 6 days a week, to the Manti pageant. Now, it was fun. It was fun. You know, there's a great big lawn that goes down off the Temple Hill there, and the Mormon church put a stage up there, and they put up trees and Book of Mormons with feet on them that walked over to you and said, and I'd say, what is wanted? We have a message from Jesus for you. Get the hell out of here. And I just shut the bus door. Well, anyway, the pageant was really well done. Now, I got to tell you something. When BYU does shit, it's first class. BYU has many extremely talented people that draws from all over the world, and your stenographers, your choreographers, and your music, and original music, and musicians, they're all first class, top notch. So I'd sit there, and I'd watch the pageant. Well, after about the 600th time, you know, I would sit on the bus and listen to the radio, but the first years that I went down there, the pageant was interesting. Now, here's what's interesting about my video, and it may not be interesting to you. The man who was in charge of the pageant for years, it said from the 80s till the 90s, is a registered child sex offender. And he taught seminary in Manti. And he was the director of Institute. I know the Mormons don't believe me. They say, oh, you're on drugs and you've never been in a temple. Read their comments. Read their comments. I don't know, damn, if I've lost this one again. I did. Alright. I hate that. I hate that. Alright, I'm going to do it from memory, okay? He's now, I think, 80 years old. He's a registered sex offender. And you can just look in Utah. He lives in Manti. He's been in Richfield, which is down by Manti, for many years. And so he went to jail, and the first trial was a mistrial. And all of his Mormon friends showed up and testified and said he did not inappropriately touch his granddaughter. Well, he got off on that. That's not unusual in Utah. Well, a few years later, one of the other granddaughters goes, hey, weenie out of the pants. So they went to court, and finally the girl won that case, and he went to prison, and he's on a sex offenders list now, and looking for a job in seminary or Boy Scouts. He says, I got experience. I'm qualified. Let me in the Boy Scouts. So anyway, I'm sorry I lost his name, but I did. And I wish there was a way that you could look it up. Well, hey, if you don't believe me, don't believe me. I don't care. I don't get paid for this crap, so I don't have to be good or truthful. The bard can make up stories. I think that is true. Bards can make stories up. The Mormons might be right. I've never been a Mormon. I've never been in the temple and Pele ale me. Cut my throat, cut my gut. I don't really care. I love the Mormons.